everyone, it's Sharonda from Pay Your Weights, and today I'm going to be reviewing Power Book 4, Force Season 1, Episode 5, Take Me Home. Alright, so we saw at the end of last week's episode, Tommy made a huge power play, okay? He made a huge decision that he now can't take back when he decided that he was going to kill Tatiana, who was with the Serbs, who was ranked pretty high up. So, of course, as Diamond said, like, you know, once you make this move, you can't walk it back. And so we see as this week's episode opens up, you know, Tommy, he's replaying the events that happened with Tatiana, you know, trying to think about, you know, what is going to happen next. And, you know, we see that Tommy has a plan. Tommy, I know that we give Tommy a lot of flack because sometimes Tommy does make rash decisions, but this was, I would say that this was thought out. He has a plan on how he's going to make a play to receive power in Chicago in order for him to get into the drug game. And so we see that Tommy and Claudia have an interaction with one another, again in this week's episode, as she is following him yet again. And Claudia shows him her new products that she's kind of been hinting towards, that she's trying to figure out who is going to be the person that's going to help her basically distribute this out on the streets, since she doesn't have her father's support. So Claudia gave Tommy, baby, when I say that Claudia gave this man a taste and the way that he fell out, okay, she put some of the product on her lips, the Dahlia on her lips, and then she kisses Tommy, and then she did the little touch the forehead. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I grew up Pentecostal, okay? I went to Pentecostal church, and it really took me back to revival times when everybody would be at the altar call, and they'd be praying on you, and then the pastor would just touch your head and everybody fall out. I don't know why that's what I thought of, but how Tommy just fell out on the car like that outside, I was just like, Tommy, is it that good? Did you get, the Dahlia was so good that you got the Holy Spirit? I don't know what was happening, but that's what my mind went to. Maybe it was just me, but y'all let me know in the comment section below, were you thinking that too? Okay, because obviously this took him on to glory after he had that Dahlia. So, we see that Tommy ends up showing Liliana product, because at the end of the day, what he gave her is so pure that they need to find a way to cut this product so they can sell even more and make even more money. The problem is that no matter how hard Liliana tries to cut it in different ways using different chemicals, she can't seem to get it right, because the product essentially dissolves before she can make it into like a lighter batch of it. And so I love the interactions between Tommy and Liliana. Like, I know I'd be secretly wishing that they would just hook up, but I'm starting to just enjoy this like brother-sister vibe that they have. And then they have a moment in this week's episode, because Tommy is just like, hey, like, why don't you take the bricks that, you know, we got and you go run off and figure out something else, because the Serbs are looking for you. But I don't know why Tommy was so keen on getting rid of her, because clearly at the end of last week's episode, he even told Tatiana that as soon as they knew that Tommy was there as well and she was working with him, that they didn't care about Liliana no more. So I don't know if, you know, this is just Tommy looking out for Liliana, because he knows at this point that he's made a very big and tough decision, because now the Serbs are going to be looking for Tommy, as they are when their leader comes, and they're basically trying to kill Tommy this entire episode. So I don't know what the intentions were. I think it was just to be like a protective big brother to her, because at this point they've been through, you know, they've been through some stuff together. And even with her having to remind him, like, hey, we go back to like New York. This isn't just a Chicago thing. Like, we're in this together. Like, we need to be partners. And he's just like, girl, like, why aren't you listening to me? You need to get your stuff and go. But he ends up agreeing to allow her to stay. He said, well, if you stay, that means you got to do everything that I tell you to do. And she was like, okay. And then he was like, so you don't leave this house, you don't do nothing unless I tell you to. And she was like, fine. But then I was like, but sis, you like broke the #1 rule, and it hadn't even been a few hours. So I'm just confused how Liliana keeps getting kidnapped. She's been kidnapped a couple of times, and we're only on episode 5 of the season. But as much as I love Liliana be making some poor choices. But one of the things that Tommy told Liliana, because he knew how powerful this drug was, because he said this was the best high that he had ever had, he told her, don't do the product. That's what he said, do not do the product, okay? So, in the midst of all of this happening between him and Liliana trying to figure out how to cut this product, you know, Tommy has to go back to Claudia because he has to get more product in order for Liliana to test. Not before, you know, he tells her that, you know, Claudia kissed him and that's how he was able to try the product, which leads me to believe that Tommy's going to start hooking up with Claudia. But I was just like, I thought that wasn't your type, but we don't know. She could be bisexual or she could be pansexual, whatever that's her prerogative. But it seems like even when Liliana was making fun of him, that he kind of did have a crush on Claudia. So, I mean, this is the type of boss woman that he would want to be with. But I don't know. It's a little weird. I really didn't have that on my bingo card that Tommy would even necessarily be attracted to her. I don't know, because Tommy just didn't date all the women that Tommy had been with throughout Power and now in Power Book 4 Force. I mean, they're all different. So I really don't know what Tommy's type actually is. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it. But I think he loves women that take charge. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see and find out. But in the midst of all of this, Mikovic, he comes after finding out what happened with Tatiana, and he's asking his people. One of the dudes tried to get smart with him, and he got a bully quickly to his head. And he tells everyone, like, hey, like, main priority, kill Tommy. That's what we're here to do. Tommy has taken out too many of our men. Like, he got to go at this point in time. So we see that while Tommy's gone, when you tell people don't do something, what they're gonna do exactly what you told them not to do. Liliana crazy behind and take a hit of the product, and then she just grab her jacket and she just walk out. And I was just like, sis, what was the number one rule? The 2 rules: don't leave the house without telling him unless he told you to go. And don't do the product. She just I was like, girl, I thought you was trying to convince him to let you stay and be a partner, and you just failed the test on the first day. I just don't even understand it. So she disappears, and of course, because she's high, she ends up getting captured by Mikovic, okay? So there's also this side story with his brother, with Tommy's brother, JP. I really don't know what they're doing with JP's character. I know that this is definitely more of a setup season, trying to get all of us introduced to these characters, but I don't know. It just, the whole storyline between him and his brother JP and the whole thing with his mom, I'm not necessarily feeling it, or do I find it as convincing? And I don't think that they really know what to do with JP in this series. I thought we would just focus more on him figuring out who his son is. But he ends up looking at some pictures. He's like, you know, going down memory lane. And then he actually ends up seeing a picture of himself, but he sees that Tommy is in the background. So maybe they were raised together and they just didn't know that they were related in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what they're necessarily going to do with that, but that's just like a little backstory of everything that's happening, okay? I'm going to take a break from Tommy because we need to talk about some of our side characters. We need to talk about JENARD, who's still very much upset about his brother taking over CBI, and also to working with Tommy. Like, he just doesn't understand why he would have more loyalty to Tommy and want to work with him instead of working with JENARD, who held down the entire, you know, operation for 15 years and even grew the operation from what Diamond had before he went into jail. So I'm also still trying to figure more about this Seamus detective. So Seamus rose up on Diamond while Diamond's taking a jog, and he basically was just doing the most. He didn't like put him up against the car, put him in the back seat like he was arresting him or something, having a conversation. And, you know, he asked him, like, what is your deal? Like, why do you have this issue with me? I don't know who you are. What is the problem that you have with me? So I think that Diamond has something to do with his sister being hurt. His sister Kiki, and we know, like, Vic mentioned Kiki as, you know, his sister, as he was like threatening him to basically stay in line since he's on the Flynn's payroll. But I was really happy that Diamond kind of brought up, like, while you sitting up here on your high horse, at the end of the day, you a dirty cop, sir. You sitting up here taking money from the Flynn family. So I'm just confused as you interrupted my daily jog, and you sitting up here trying to tell me about all the stuff I did in my past, but baby, you a dirty cop. And he got real shook when he told him, like, I know what you do. Then he gonna talk about get out of my car. I said, well, bitch, you, like, what? I was just like, he's just very disrespectful. But, JENARD is upset and he's talking to Elijah. And I know Elijah's probably like, sir, I'm so tired of you talking about this. If you want to take your brother out, or if you want to get this stuff back, then just be about that life. But you sitting up here talking about this to me every damn episode. I just don't understand what is supposed to happen. So we see that Tommy and Diamond, Tommy goes to talk to Diamond, after what happened with the Serbs. Diamond already knows what's happened. And he basically gives him, this idea, like he has to take out the Serbs because he killed Tatiana, who is higher ranking, that, they're going to come after him, especially after, the whole thing with Jason, in the Power series. They're not going to let this slide at this point in time. So Tommy wants to make a deal with him to basically say like, hey, I have this new drug, and if we can take out the Serbs, then we all stand to make a lot of money. And so Diamond says that he wants 51%, especially since Tommy needs Diamond soldiers in order to have the manpower to go and take out the Serbs. But Tommy says that this isn't going to be a 51-49% partnership because Vic walks in, and Vic has something to do with this because Vic is the one, when Diamond told him no, when he went to go take out the Serbs, Vic was the one who was there to help him handle Tatiana. So they all end up agreeing to do this. And I think that Diamond got the 34% and everybody took a lesser cut. However, that Tommy was just like, we can't do this without your brother. Like, we need everybody on board in order to make this happen. And so Diamond has a conversation with JENARD. JENARD's kind of like, I just don't understand why you keep aligning yourself with this white boy. I just don't get it. But when he tells them like, hey, if they're able to do this, this can mean so much more for us. And I like how Diamond kind of talks about, the history. If you really go back into, especially like with the Italians and, with, the white people, the Irish people, how black people were really their corner boys. Like if you look like at anything that happened like with Bumpy Johnson, when you go back and research things like that, like they were trying to find a way to break away from the Italians who really undervalued them, who they got paid less. And so I was happy that he kind of brought the history back into that and how much money that they actually have to stand, that they can actually run their own operation without actually needing them. So JENARD agrees to the deal because of JENARD, he just wants some money. So I was like, okay, well, this makes a little bit of sense. Go ahead, everybody working together. They even got Keto cousin, I forgot his name, but the Keto dude with Vic, he got his boy in on it. So they got a whole little group together. They finna go bang bang. I was dying laughing when Tommy said to Vic's cousin, he was like, you might just be invited to the cookout after this. I said, now Tommy, how are you inviting people to the cookout? Have it make sense for me, Tommy, because it's not the math not mathing for me how you gonna invite somebody to the cookout. I was just really confused by all of that, but it did get a chuckle out of me, I'm not going to lie. So we see that, when they end up going, because the Serbs run in separate crews, it's like 6 groups, so they got to take everybody out one by one. So when they go to hit the first crew, I should have known that when he made the comment about Keto dude, that he just wasn't going to make it. And poor kid got shot in his head on the first round. Then the second round, when they went to go get some of the more Serbs, then Elijah got killed. And I knew that as soon as Elijah got killed, it was going to be war for JENARD. And ever since then, he already didn't like Tommy. He was already trying to take Tommy out because he tried to get Liliana to take out Tommy, but she said no. Basically, after Elijah died, he got shot and killed during the second raid. JENARD was over it, okay? And so Tommy ends up getting a phone call from Mikovic, letting him know that he has Liliana. And so Tommy asks, Vic and JENARD and Diamond to help him out. And they were like, hey, dude, now we didn't sit up here and kill all these Serbs for you, risking our lives for your crazy plans that we still don't really know what you're trying to do. For reals, we not doing all of that, honey. I did what I said I was going to do. I'm not working no overtime today, okay? This is all I can do in my 8-hour shift. So Vic and Diamond, they said that they're basically out of it. We see that Tommy goes to get Liliana. They meet up. But in the midst of them having this conversation, a car drives by, tries to take them out, and then we realize at the end of the episode that it's actually JENARD, which I already knew when the car rolled up. I was like, clearly this is JENARD who was trying to take Tommy out. He'd been trying to kill this man. At least he stopped talking about it and was actually going to be about it. I just wish that Elijah didn't have to die in order for him to do this in the first place. But there are some side stories that are happening with the Flynn family. We see that, Vic, This whole them trying to make Vic and Gloria work, it just does not work for me. I just don't see it for them. I don't see the chemistry between them. I don't even know why Gloria wanted to be with somebody like Vic. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. But Vic ends up taking her for a ride. We saw a couple weeks ago in the episode where he had drew their dream house on a napkin that she kept. He took her to a plot of land where he said this is the house that they want to build. And they start kissing, making out, looking like he was finna, I guess he did, F her on the car. But we saw that Polly, Walter's right-hand man, was following him, took pictures, and showed it to Walter. Walter, who just, he said there will be not a drop of anything else but Irish blood in the bloodline, okay? And so he ends up going to Gloria. Because we do know that Gloria does owe Walter a large sum of money that she hasn't quite paid back yet. But Walter basically just tells her, like, sis. He didn't say sis. I'm just saying sis. But he tells her that, you know, he starts talking about how beautiful she is. But he was like, but baby girl, let me tell you something. You will not be the face that he wakes up to every morning. And you definitely will not be the face that kisses my grandchildren when they go to sleep. I was like, damn, Walter. Like, first of all, Walter couldn't even read her the way that he wanted to read her. He's sitting up here choking and stuff. I was like, sir, I don't think the whiskey is going to help with your ailments right now. Like, you seem to be doing the most. You need to go sit down and blow on your little I should know what it is because I used to have to breathe on. Let me stop talking for the Lord. Bring my asthma back full force like it was when I was younger. But he was just doing the most. And Vic gets upset when he realizes what his daddy did. He coming all nuck if you buck. And then his daddy slapped the taste out of his mouth. I was like, now Vic, you know you really not about that life. You really on some kumbaya type of stuff. I don't know why you thought you was going to come to your daddy talking all this smack in the first place. But he slapped the taste out of his mouth. And then Claudia, who just want to insert herself in all her other business instead of focusing on what her and her raggedy boo got going on. But she goes to talk to Gloria. She offers Gloria the deed to the land, which is worth $10 million. She was like, take this and walk away from my brother. Because it's just, since it's not in the cards for y'all. It's just not in the cards for y'all. Just let it go. So she gets upset at Claudia and she tells her, like, you're worse than your father. And she basically alludes to the fact that her father is sick, which is something that Walter and Vic was keeping away from Claudia. So I'm assuming at this point that she is going to dig a little bit deeper into what has actually happened with her father and figure out that he's actually dying. But Claudia got her own problem. She didn't even got time to be worried about this, okay? Because first of all, she don't have enough product. She doesn't have enough people to sell her product. Her boo thing is just not in check. Her boo's just really been talking outside of her neck the past couple of episodes. She gets upset because, of course, Claudia moves the Dahlia without her boo knowing. But her boo tells her what happens, and then she threatens to take the drug to somebody else because she doesn't have enough manpower to actually, you know, distribute the drugs and make money from it. So we see that later in the episode, Claudia's boo, she got real out of control. She slapped, when I say Walter slapped the taste out of Vic's mouth, Claudia's boo slapped the taste out of her mouth. And then she was threatening to leave. She was like, I chose the wrong Flynn. I'm taking my business elsewhere. And then she like stabbed the girl in the back of her neck and then just left the girl just bleeding on that beautiful white rug. I was like, so you just upstairs getting high and you just gonna let her bleed? I know Sharonda, it was probably the first person she killed. I get it. But I was just like, girl, what you finna do with this dead body? Like, what are we doing right now? So, yes. I don't know what's going to happen at this point because now we're in an all-out war. You know, Mikovich wasn't dead. We did see that Liliana ended up getting shoot in the drive-by with JENARD, but the bullet went clean through. Tommy was really worried about Liliana. I really love this relationship between those two. But things are definitely moving in a faster pace right now. There's more things that are actually happening. But I don't know. It's just something about this series that isn't necessarily doing it for me. But I do think that they can get there. I just think that it needs some tweaks from a writing standpoint. You know, as I said, this is a setup season. They're kind of just setting up the landscape. We're introduced to a new place. We're introduced to so many new characters. But I do think that some of those characters are a little bit miscast. But yeah, I mean, I will say this was a more enjoyable episode than some of the other episodes for me. Is like more things that are actually happening, you know, with Tommy's plan to take out the Serbs and what's going to happen now, you know, that Mikovich is here. He's trying to take Tommy out while Tommy's trying to take him out. And what are those dynamics going to look like with Vic, Tommy, and Diamond being in a partnership where now they have this rogue person, JENARD, who's going after Tommy. And it almost seemed like when he had the gun and he was waiting outside looking at his brother, I was like, dang, is you finna take your brother out too? But I think they're setting up some interesting things to happen. I just need to see how the chips are going to fall into place. But yeah, I will say that this episode was definitely it was a step up. It was a step up. I don't know if it's necessarily there yet for me. But yeah, I just wish from a writing standpoint that we would get a little bit more meat. Like, they don't know what to do with JP. You know, Claudia all over the place as a character, because I just don't understand how Claudia had a boo, and her and Tommy kind of got stuck. I don't know. Even with how Gloria and Vic just started smashing on the car, I was like, I thought you wasn't even talking. Let me just stop. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of this week's episode, okay? Do you feel like things are kind of just not making sense for some of the characters? Like, let me know what you think about the writing. Do you feel like this is starting to speed up? Do you still feel like it's a little bit slow? Are you into Power Book Force? Let me know in the comment section below. How are you feeling about the show? How are you feeling about this week's episode? But those are my thoughts on Power Book 4, Force. Episode 5, Take Me Home. As always, my name is Sharona from Pay Your Weights, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, bye.